Hi everyone, today we are going to be talking about reading pictographs or pictographs. You'll see them called by both names. So to read pictographs or pictographs, we follow two steps. First, we ask ourselves, what does the graph show? To do this, we check the title, categories, and the key. Then, if we're answering questions about a graph, we're going to review the questions and ask ourselves, what information do I need to answer this question? Let's practice reading some pictographs together. All right, here is the first one. You might notice this graph from the Brain Pop video. We're going to answer some questions about it today together. So our first step is asking ourselves, what information does the graph show? We check the title, categories, and the key. So I'll start with the title. The title of this graph is Favorite Fruit. So I know that this graph is going to be all about people's favorite kinds of fruits. The categories will tell me what kind of fruits we're looking at. I see apples, pears, grapes, and bananas in this graph. And finally, and most importantly, I need to look at the key. The key will tell me what each picture or symbol represents. So in this graph, one smiley face is equal to one vote. Sometimes in pictographs, you'll see a symbol is equal to 2 votes or 5 votes. So that's really going to change how many votes you end up counting. So it's super important to pay attention to that key. But here, a smiley face equals 1 vote. All right, now we can move on to step 2, reviewing the questions and asking ourselves, what information do I need to answer this question? Let's start with some comparison problems. Apples have blank more or fewer votes than pears. All right, so to answer this problem, I know I'm going to need to look at the apples and I'm going to need to look at the pears because those are the two categories that I'm comparing. So in order to figure out how many more or less votes apples have than pears, I have to look at the total in each category. From counting all the smiley faces, I can see that apples have 10 votes and pears have 7 votes. So now I need to compare those two numbers. Apples have blank more or fewer votes than pears. I can see that apples have 10 votes, which is going to be more votes than pears. The question is how many more? I could do 10 minus 7 equals 3. I could count on from 7, 7, 8, 9, 10 to figure out how many more. But I know that apples have 3 more votes than pears. I fill in the number 3 and I'm circling more. All right, let's do another one. Again, using pictographs to compare. Grapes need blank more votes to have as many as bananas have. That's a tricky one. I'm going to read that again. Grapes need blank more votes to have as many votes as bananas have. So in order to make the grapes amount the same as the bananas amount, how many votes would I have to add? Well, first, I need to know how many votes I have for grapes and how many votes I have for bananas. Grapes have 2 smiley faces and bananas have 6. So in order to have 6 smiley faces, how many more smiley faces does grapes need? Well, I know 2 plus 4 equals 6. So grapes need 4 more votes to have the same amount as bananas. You will see problems like both of those today in your work. Let's do another. Ooh, even trickier. You might notice that I've kept the totals for each category up here. You might find that this is something helpful for you to do as well before you even start to answer questions, is figuring out the total in each category. I know that it helps me to just keep the numbers written at the end of each row to help me remember how many were in each. Here's the question. If 3 students change their vote from apples to grapes, how many votes will grapes have? And there's a second part to this question. How many votes will apples have? Okay, so if 3 students change their votes from apples to grapes, I really have to visualize the change of those votes. And then I want to figure out what's going to be the new amount of grape votes and the new amount of apple votes. So let's visualize those 3 students changing their votes. 1, 2, 3. 3 of those votes are being changed from apples to grapes. Now I first am going to figure out how many votes grapes will have. Grapes started with 2 votes, plus the 3 that we just moved there, so grapes would have 5 votes. And to figure out how many votes apples will have, we know apples started with 10 votes. We took away 3 of them, so they're left with 7 votes for apples. Okay, let's move on to a new picture graph. As always, we start by checking the title, categories, and the key to figure out what information does this graph show. The categories here are subjects. I see the subjects are math, reading, and social studies. The title tells me that this graph is all about students' favorite subjects. And the very important key tells me that 1 pencil equals 1 vote. So I can count by ones to find the total. For this graph, I'm going to show you what it would look like to figure out the totals first before you solve anything. So looking at the graph, I can count each pencil, and I know each pencil equals 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 votes for math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 votes for reading. 1, 2, 3. 3 votes for social studies. All right, let's answer some questions about this graph. For these are all going to be put together and take apart problems. This is going to be similar to your second page of work today. The first question says, how many students voted all together? So I want to know how many students voted in all. For this, I can do a couple of things. I can count up all the votes, so I can count up each pencil one by one, or I can use the work I've already done and write a number sentence. 8 votes plus 6 votes plus 3 votes equals 17 votes in all, or 17 students voting in this poll. So that's my total amount of students who voted all together. Here we go. 2 of the students that voted are in first grade, and 2 are in second grade. The rest of the students are in third grade. How many students are in third grade? Okay, so remember, we have to ask ourselves, what information do we need to answer this question? If these questions are all about the students voting, I know I'm going to need to bring back that total that I just figured out. So the total was 17 students. So that's the amount of students I start with. 2 of the students that voted are in first grade. And I didn't get tricked because I see the word 2, but I know it's still a number in the problem. 2 of the students are in second grade, and the rest of the students are in third grade. So if I start with the 17 students, and I take away the 2 that are in first grade and the 2 that are in second grade, I should be left with the rest of the students, and that will be how many students are in third grade. So you have a couple options for this. You might say 2 plus 2 equals 4 and solve 17 minus 4, or write 2 number sentences. 17 minus the 2 first grade students, you're left with 15. 15 minus the 2 second grade students, you're left with 13 students, telling us that 13 students from this poll were in third grade. You might notice for these last 2 questions that none of the questions even asked you about math, reading, or social studies. Instead, you used the graph to figure out the total amount of students that were in the poll. That's going to be very similar to some of the questions that you answer in your math notebook today. All right, those are all my questions for you in this one. Good luck, and remember to follow those 2 steps. Take a look over the whole graph first, label each each row if you want to, and then review the questions by asking yourself, what information do I need to answer this question? Good luck and have fun.